afternoon, everyone. This is not.
Did a little bit of mic check yesterday at the Illinois Statehouse. Yeah, I can hear it. Mic check, mic check.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, the mic,
Can you hear
mic
me?
works.
No, yes.
Yep.
Check. Check.
Yeah.
Nah, there's nothing.
No, I hear it. I heard it. I was sitting there waiting. That's what I do. Hurry up and wait.
No, mic.
Mic check.
The mic was working. So, yeah, that was the House Elections and Ethics Committee, which, I heard that as I was monitoring it remotely, and then all of a sudden the feed died. So I didn't get to see what happened in the Elections and Ethics Committee. But there were tons of other committees at the State House that ultimately did go through, and I was able to monitor. At one point, I had 3 different committees going on at once. It's kind of, I guess I'm a high performer when it comes to audio and being able to channel audio and record audio and all of that jazz. I mean, just look at what's going on here every morning. But some of the things that they talked about in committees range widely. They had committees about consumer protection, committees about appropriation for K through 12 schools and early childhood education. They even had committees about hiring at the Department of Children and Family Services. But one thing I want to jump into here is in the consumer committee, you had some of the issues brought up dealt with how consumers are going to be able to bring in some of their own to-go containers to restaurants, for instance. And here is State Representative Anstava Murray explaining her bill in one committee for the Consumer Protection Committee.
I am presenting House Bill 2086, an initiative that was brought to me from the Illinois Environmental Council. This bill aims to create health standards to allow Illinoisans who wish to bring their own personal containers to retailers and restaurants to do so in a manner conducive to public health. I want to note, this bill does not compel retailers who do not wish to participate to do anything. Once again, this bill does not compel retailers who do not wish to participate to do absolutely anything. What it does do is that it provides that restaurants and retailers may fill or refill consumer-owned containers with bulk food and ready-made food, provided those containers meet both federal FDA and Illinois Food Code requirements. It allows clean consumer-owned containers that meet public health standards to be filled or refilled by the retailer, the employee of a restaurant, or the owner of the container. It provides that non-food containers may be filled and refilled with food, but must adhere to other regulations in order to avoid cross-contamination.
So some of the things they're focusing on, allowing for consumers to bring in, their own containers from home to fill up things and bring stuff home, I guess, in a way to try to cut down on waste for these types of containers. You had a little bit of pushback. State Representative Tom Weber raising some questions about possible cross-contamination in other aspects.
I mean, I don't have an issue with people wanting to use their own, Tupperware container to bring leftovers home. But when you start talking about going through lines where the same utensils are being used over and over again by multiple people, or bringing something in that no one has any idea where it's been into a sanitized environment, that brings a lot of concern and health issues, in my opinion.
And he also talked about, buffets where this type of thing could get worse.
All right, we'll look it up, but right now I've got a lot of health concerns, so I'm not sure. Without seeing an amendment, I don't know what's in that. I know you talked about it, but I don't have any idea what it would be.
The sponsors said that, hey, they'll amend it to ease some of these concerns. But it wasn't just Republicans with concerns. State Representative Rita Mayfield also raising those concerns.
First off, having an FDA-approved container, I don't know what that is. So is that the container that I'm purchasing from the dollar store? Is that something, that my daughter made in craft shop? What's an FDA container? I think we need a little bit more specification. I'm not done. And then the issue of the buffet is serious because a lot of restaurants do have the buffets. They are not manned by personnel. It is you just go up there and you just help yourself and everything is, So there are some cross-contaminations issues there.
So again, They went on for a good 40 minutes talking about this one bill and some promises to amend it. Will they advance it once it's amended? Will those amendments ease some of the concerns that you heard across the political spectrum? Who knows? But hey, that's what they're dealing with in the consumer protection space. Also in the consumer protection space, State Representative Bob Rita, he has a measure that would deal with sparklers. Here's Representative Rita.
It basically legalizes ground sparklers. Not all the fireworks, but sparklers that are on the ground. Right now, sparklers that you would hold in your hand are legal, and this just gives a provision to allow that in Illinois, like 47 other states.
So he wants his House Bill 2121 to advance, and he had a lobbyist there, a former state senator, Matt Murphy. He was there to talk about the bill and the importance of the bill.
It does not legalize firecrackers. It does not legalize bottle rockets. It doesn't legalize M80s. It doesn't legalize aerial, meaning things that fire into the air, fireworks. It merely says, it adds to Illinois law. Illinois law references right now that sparklers are legal. This just clarifies that it's both the handheld kind and the ground-based kind. And look, I think we all know our state is surrounded by states that allow all fireworks to be sold. And so people go to Indiana, they go to Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa, Kentucky, and they come back with everything.
Yeah. They're looking to advance legislation about making handheld sparklers are legal right now in Illinois. Everything else, basically, I mean, you can only get snakes and sparklers. Everything else has been deemed illegal. However, I know people who go cross over to Missouri and buy hundreds of dollars of the Big Bang stuff, and they bring it back for their 4th of July celebrations. So people are still bringing it in. But the proponents of this bill, they're just wanting to essentially allow for ground-based sparklers. We'll hear from an opponent lobbying against this at the State House. But a call. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Laugh my ass off. This is unbelievable. This is all the crap that's going on in this state, and this is what we're worried about. You can't even make it up. You really, truly can't even make this up.
Well, this is just the Consumer Protection Committee. I haven't even gotten into the Environment Committee where they talked about getting rid of single-use styrofoam cups, for instance.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to hell in a handbasket quick, right?
Yeah, I think other people might say, the fire's burning and somebody's fiddling, right? So, I mean, you've heard that before as well when it comes to Rome. So that's what's going on at the Illinois State House. Appreciate the call. We'll take more of your calls as they come in. Want to take a break, though, and come back and share with you a bit more from happenings at the State House. But this particular issue of legalizing ground-based sparklers found some opposition. Margaret Vaughn opposing this. She's a lobbyist.
We're not doing it to be a killjoy. This is the sad reality of it. And I think without further ado, if you want to, so you can see it's not a little ground-based sparkler. It's a total misclassification, goes against every industry standard.
And she says that they're trying to legalize these larger ground-based fireworks with 5 different tubes that can go on for a good 15 minutes with high heat and dangerous, essentially munitions. So ultimately, though, despite the impassioned opposition, it passed out of committee. Hey, you might get some sparklers.
There being 7 yeses, 2 noes, and 0 present, House Bill 2121 is declared passed and will be favorably reported to the House floor.
All right, so coming back, we'll hear about single-use plastic cups. And also how people are critical of the Department of Children and Family Services in their hiring. The state's child welfare agency under the magnifying glass a bit yesterday as well. So stay tuned. We'll get to that coming up here on WMA. Doing a bit of a roundup of some State House happenings. The Illinois House in session. Senate's not in session this week. They come back next week. But a bunch of House hearings. They went pretty late last night. We heard some of the consumer protection hearing where they were looking at legalizing ground-based sparklers. They also talked about single-use to-go containers, and in particular allowing for people to take their own to-go containers to a restaurant and have that be what food goes into. But in a separate committee, in the Environment Committee, they talked about getting rid of single-use plastics and styrofoam, polyurethane plastics. And that measure did ultimately pass out of committee. I know the Illinois manufacturers were opposed to it. But I also talked with State Representative Mike Coffey, who owns a restaurant here in Springfield, and he shared some of his thoughts as to why he doesn't think that this type of thing is necessary.
We can weed styrofoam out, that's fine, but to have a mandate and force restaurants to do certain things, I'm against. Give everybody the information, let them decide. In my personal restaurant, I have very little styrofoam, and just because they brought it up, I'll look to see how I can eliminate it, but I don't need the government to come in and tell me what to do.
So ultimately, that measure passed out of the Environment Committee, despite the manufacturers group even proposing some different suggestions and workarounds. But allowing people to bring their own to-go containers, passing one committee, another one getting rid of styrofoam containers, eventually letting that phase out. But they also held a committee in a separate chamber, in a separate committee hearing about DCFS hiring. And in particular, you have the Central Management Services talking about the process of how they go about hiring for DCFS.
While we have still seen a reduction in overall time to hire since going electronic, our best estimate is the full process is taking approximately 108 days today.
But State Representative Mary Flowers, she says that things are taking too long and doesn't smell right.
Rethink whatever it is that you're doing here, because this reminds me of a clogged sink, and when the stuff backs up, it stinks.
And even Michelle Mussman, a Democrat, chiming in.
But we keep hearing about we have overburdened caseworkers who have too many cases to really manage them properly. They're burning out very quickly. They're passing cases on to other people who are already overburdened. There's not enough information being passed on.
So, they can talk about eliminating styrofoam in one hand, and then delving into the hiring practices of the state's child welfare agency. Just some of the mix mash of things that they do at the Illinois State House. All right, stay tuned. The Council Roundup's next.
From the Fly SPI Studios.